What is up, everybody? Welcome to the final World Cup preview here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content I'm putting out every single week on YouTube. As I mentioned, Group H final World Cup group preview before the tournament gets underway. So if you haven't checked out all of my other group previews, be sure to do that as well. First team to discuss today is Colombia. Third World Cup appearance for Colombia, also made it in 2011 and 2015. Best finish, a round of 16 showing in 2015. Your name to know, not too difficult here, Linda Caicedo. Linda Caicedo is still a teenager, has already won a Copa America Player of the Tournament award, playing for a big time club in Real Madrid, checking every box. We're talking about one of the most exciting young players in the world that probably doesn't get that much attention because this Colombian team is still, from a program perspective, still developing, still growing, hasn't had an opportunity on the global stage yet, and here it is. Could absolutely be one of the breakout stars of the tournament. Really excited to see what Linda Caicedo can offer. She is your name to know for this Colombia team. The big question: how do they deal with increased expectations? This is no longer a team that is just simply happy to be here. They went from not qualifying in 2019 to having a 1-0 loss to Brazil in the Copa America final, which is absolutely admirable. No shame in that at all. And they didn't lose a game in the tournament before that. Obviously, we're talking about a different level of competition here at the World Cup as opposed to Copa America. But this is quickly becoming one of the best teams in South America. This is a team on the rise. And so, how do you handle that coming into this tournament, where, of course, there aren't massive expectations placed on this Colombia team in terms of winning the tournament or anything like that? But they're starting to deliver performances and results. And so, I'm curious to see how that gets navigated now that it's kind of okay. Can you take that next step? Can you do more than just qualify, because your performance are suggesting there's another level to get to here? Ultimately, it might just be one World Cup cycle too early for this team to be able to kind of go to that next level, get out of a group, things like that. But this is a team that is, from a quality standpoint, capable of getting out of a group, particularly one like this where it's rather favorable. So that's what I'm looking at here is kind of, can they get people even more excited? Can they take another step in their development? Second team in this group is Germany. Germany has participated in all 8 previous Women's World Cups, 2-time winners, 2003 and 2007. Your name to know, not going to overthink it. It's Alexandra Popp. Tied Beth Mead for the most goals at Euro 2022. Lost out on the Golden Boot, but effectively tied for it. Wolfsburg striker, Champions League winner multiple times. Played in, Wolfsburg obviously made this year's final. You can go down the list of accomplishments for Alexandra Popp. The other thing I do want to throw in here, though, is that Alexandra Popp has played in 15 World Cup games, as a testament to just how early she got into this Germany team and what kind of player she's been throughout her career. This is nothing new to her. And she is in terrific form over the last year with what she did at the Euros, what she gave Wolfsburg this season. And so there were plenty of players to choose from on this Germany team. But if you're just getting introduced to this group and kind of starting to learn about them, there's only one place to start. That is Alexandra Popp. My big question is a fairly basic one. Can they bounce back? How do they respond from what happened at the Euros? That final was basically dead even. They justifiably probably feel like they should have won it, just like England feel like they should have won it. It was just an evenly matched game. And so you give up that goal in extra time. By the way, you went toe to toe with England at Wembley. It's not like this was a neutral venue. It just happened that England got to host. So you're coming off of that where you could argue, I'm not sure I would buy it, but there's a case they were the most impressive team at that tournament. The mental toll that a loss like that takes does not go away. The consequences of a loss like that don't go away in a year. They're right back at it this summer. The question is, can they find a way to turn the consequences of that loss into something positive here and use it as that extra bit of fuel to make sure that they come out on the right side of another game like that, whether it's a semifinal, final, and finish the job. And, they didn't get Euro 2022, but after winning the World Cup the following year, they look back on the lessons that they learned in that disappointment. Because that's what we're talking about here. There are maybe two teams you should pick ahead of Germany. And I say maybe because England is debatable. And it's a banged up U.S. team as well. In a tournament that's there for the taking. Germany are right there with the favorites. So how do they navigate and how do they kind of handle and respond to what happened last summer where they were so close to winning the Euros? Then we have Morocco making their first appearance in the Women's World Cup, first Arab country to participate in the Women's World Cup. Very cool story here. Your name to know, Rosella Ayani. Rosella Ayani was in the England youth setup. Her dad is Moroccan, and so she ultimately decided at the senior level to represent Morocco instead of England. Plays for Tottenham Hotspur in the WSL, contributing plenty of assists this season, consistent playing time. Not the highest profile player in the WSL, but a regular contributor in a very good league for obviously a recognizable brand in Spurs. That's your player to know. That's your name to know. Can Rosella Ayani kind of kickstart this team in attack? And I'll talk about more about that in a second here. Because the question is, I'm going to frame it on the defensive side, which is, can they defensively be good enough to give themselves a chance? Played 3 friendlies this month against other teams going to the World Cup. Not the favorites, not the Germanys, the United States of the world, but 3 teams participating in this tournament. There was 1 goal scored between the 2 teams in those 3 games. Morocco didn't score, but they also only conceded 1 goal in 270 minutes against World Cup level competition. If you do that, you automatically give yourself an opportunity because you might just stumble into a goal or 2. I expect this team to be challenged in attack. It's not going to be a free-flowing goal-scoring fest. That's okay as long as you can perform that way defensively against the Germanys of the world, against Colombia, who have some dynamic players. South Korea this group has some attacking talent in it. So can you have that same kind of defensive foundation? Because you're in business if you do. Again, I'm somebody, and I've said this on multiple other preview videos, I'm hesitant to read too much into friendlies. It tells you something, especially for these teams that we don't know too much about, still trying to kind of learn and get a feel for. It's a piece of information. I'm just not entirely sure how much to read into it. And I refuse to put a lot of stock in it because it's one game. Who knows who was playing? There aren't stakes. It's just a different conversation when you get to a World Cup. So can those defensive performances carry over for Morocco? And then finally, South Korea, 4th World Cup appearance, also participated 2003, 2015, and 2019. Best finish, a round of 16 showing in 2015. Your name to know, Ji So-yeon, Chelsea, longtime Chelsea player, Chelsea legend, all-time leading goal scorer for South Korea, most caps in South Korean women's soccer history. There just isn't a lot else to say. She is the most decorated South Korean women's soccer player ever. Chelsea all kinds of success, all kinds of contributions to that success for Chelsea. Ji So-yun, your name to know. The question, it's only 3 words. Can they capitalize? I'm just continue to look at this group, and for a country that has a World Cup win, a appearance in the knockout stage. FIFA World Rankings will tell you this is the second best team in the world for whatever that, or second best team in this group, excuse me, for whatever that's worth. There is nobody who, outside of Germany, who really scares you in this group, regardless of where you feel like South Korea fits on paper. You've got a Morocco team that's never been here before. You got a Colombia team that this group of players basically haven't been here before because they didn't even make it in 2019. As opposed to this veteran group that has qualified for the past 2 World Cups, that got experience in 2019. It is all there for South Korea to get back to the knockout stage. And who knows after that happens. So it's really simple for me. This is lining up to be the most successful, or at least tied for the most successful, World Cup in South Korea women's soccer history. Can they actually make it happen? In terms of the group overall, kind of things I'm looking for, Germany is your headliner, your favorite. Should have no problem getting out of the group. In this tournament in particular, it's so important to try and make sure you win your group to avoid a difficult round of 16 game. Can they just take care of business? I expect they will. What do they look like? To get a kind of sense of, are they really one of the favorites for this tournament? Like, I expect them to be, all of that. And then again, it's that battle for that second spot. I don't see too much between South Korea and Colombia. I'll give the slight edge to South Korea. But Linda Caicedo is the kind of player who can win a game individually. And if Colombia beats South Korea, that changes the complexion of this group. If Morocco holds somebody to a scoreless draw, for example, that changes the complexion of this group too. So there are a lot of moving pieces here that make this one of the more interesting groups for me, outside of the fact that I expect Germany to pretty much cruise into the knockout stage. That is all for the Group H preview. Again, be sure to check out the other group previews I have done now that the series is finished. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.